Oh boy, what a week. Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Sprue review video. A massive Sprue review video. It is, of course, the range of Grand Cathay minus Miao Ying. Oh, hay fever. Yes, Games Workshop have been exceptionally kind, and this week they sent me the entire range of the Grand Cathay release, and I cannot thank them enough for doing that because it's absolutely incredible and beautiful to behold. And this is what Old World, I think for me, I always pictured it was all going to be about. So it's amazing now that for me it kind of feels like the Old World finally starts now. However, there are some things that Games Workshop is not in control of, and that is the weather. And it has been a difficult week, to say the least. I'm even doing something I swore I would never do, which is appear in one of these in a vest. I'm not going to raise my arms because I'm embarrassed about my doughy body, but it is swelteringly hot up here. I have hideous hay fever, and we are in the middle of a sort of heat wave here in the UK, which does mean that productivity has slowed to a crawl for me, which means that there's not a lot that's been painted. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've tried my best, but I've done quite a lot. Ish. That doesn't make any sense as a sentence. As you can tell, it's already really hot. I've had to turn off all the fans so you can actually hear me over them, because it's really loud in here with all of the fans on. So we are on a time crunch right now. Now, we have Sprue reviewed all of the kits though. That's all done. They're all built. They're all primed. There is going to be content for everything that I haven't already done. Hopefully. It all depends on the weather just kind of holding back the heat storm at the moment. But there is plenty of stuff on the way anyway, but hopefully even more coming soon. Anyway, we'll get to that later. So yes, we've got the battalion, we've got the Sky Lantern, we've got some Sentinels. Yes. We've got Lord Shugengan on Spirit Longma, and some other stuff as well. I think, or maybe that's it. I can't remember now. My brain fog. Hay fever has been a problem as well. Have I mentioned that? I don't know. This might be the most erratic beginning to a video we've ever had. I just don't know what's going on. It's definitely Saturday. So we're just going to jump in because previous Josh probably is a little bit more coherent. I hope. I hope this video actually works. I don't know though. But if you too are suffering from the heat or hay fever, then you should hit the like button because you're also into Grand Cathay. My goodness me. Anyway, hit the like button, comment below, tell me what you're thinking about the Grand Cathay. Are you excited? Are you buying these for the Old World? Are you excited to get into the Old World? Or are you doing what I might do, which is convert some of this into Age of Sigmar later down the line? Cities of Sigmar look like these will take very, very well indeed. If you could also hit that subscribe button, we've got to get to 100,000 this year. It has to be done. Well, I hope it gets done. And only you can help me get there. So, yeah, please. Like, comment, subscribe. And now, we're going to jump in and check out the Grand Cathay Battalion plus extras. Range would be the better way to say that. Okay, so it makes sense to me to kick things off with the Grand Cathay Battalion. Here it is. We'll start with the back because this is what you get inside. You get 2 units of 15 or 3 units of 10 Jade warriors armed with hand weapons and shields or halberds, each with full command. We get 1 unit of 10 or 2 units of 5 Jade lancers, each with full command. We get a fire rain rocket battery, which can also be assembled as 2 of either the Grand Cannon or the fire rain rocket battery inside the battalion. So let's have a look, shall we? I've already cut it open, but I haven't had a look yet. This is new to all of us. So here we go. We have a pile of plastic. Who'd have thought, eh? So we get quite a hefty instruction manual there. That's quite a big one. And now Well, that was on the top. Normally it would be on the bottom, but here we go. So that would be happen to probably be the Jade Knights there, and we get another Jade Knight sprue. That's a different one, and pile of square bases, and we get more Jade Knights here and here, and I think that's it for Jade Knights. Now, is it a duplicate sprue? Oh no, I don't think it is. I think they've done that weird thing they sometimes like to do. So there's one sprue of the Jade Knights, and here is something. We should be seeing another banner here somewhere. Yes, there it is. So this sprue matches up with that sprue, so that's the duplicate there, and then this sprue matches up with this sprue here, and then this sprue matches up with this sprue here. As you can see, it's nice and weird. Kind of makes it look like it's two individual sets. It's not, it's the same set twice. So there we go. Alright, that's all the Jade Knights. That is 1, 2... Oh, felt like something broke in my hand there, but I don't think it did. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sprues, very technically. Oh, it's a rain that feels like it's breaking in my hand. There we go. Makes sense. Alright. Let's pop these to one side. So now we'll see if the Jade Warriors did the same thing. So we got Jade Warriors and Jade Warriors and Jade Warriors, and then we've got Jade Warriors, Jade Warriors, Jade Warriors. Okay, so that is one sprue that looks like that, one sprue that looks like that, and then another non-duplication. So there we go. Nice and confusing. Alright, so there we go. Those are two duplicated sprues. This one duplicates there, and that's 3 sets of the banner, and then this one I can't quite tell. I think that one duplicates there. Yeah. And then we don't have another banner, so maybe this one. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, it's a slightly strange thing. Maybe this is the same sprue 3 times. I think it is. Yes. Okay, so this is the same sprue 3 times, and this is the other half of it. So altogether, that's what makes your 30 Jade Warriors. Okay, we're slowly getting there. We're slowly understanding it. Now, inside the bottom of the box, we have our 2 cannons, both of which should be exactly the same. Yes. That wasn't hard, was it? There we go. Alright. What we have is we have large square bases. Those are probably for our 2 cannons. Then we have 1, 2, and that's a slightly smaller thing, so that probably goes with the cannon. 1, 2, 3, and that's a large square. That's a cannon. That looks like a cannon. 4 and 5. This should be 6. We get 7. That goes with the cannon. 8, 9, and 10. There we go. And we get a gorgeous, lovely transfer sheet. There it is. Cathay Warriors and Lancers transfer sheet. Love to see it. Look at all of this. This is lovely. Lovely, lovely stuff. Cool. There you go. That is the contents of the battalion. So I thought we'd start by having a look at the instruction manual, because this will tell us what we need to know about building these kits and, well, how difficult it's going to be. So when we open up the first page, as you can see, it does give us a key of all the sprues. So we have 3, 3, and 3, 2, 2, and 2, and 2, and 2 here. And we also have our little key for all of the bases, and as you can see, the bases fit over the top of these bits like so. So that tells you, if you need to know what size base you need, come back to page 1 and you can see there, like so. So we'll pop those out of the way. And let's have a look, shall we? So we're going to start things off with the Jade Warriors. Here we are, and we have optional assembly straight away. So we have 10 different heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 10. We have 5 different helmet plumes, and we have 5 different pouches and urns and things. So that's cool to see. So interesting. There's not a whole amount of customizing going on here, but of course there is the optional weapons. So the Jade Officer Champion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 components, 8 components. That's not bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Interesting. Okay. The standard bearer, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are optional. 6 optional. That's good. You've got to cut the sword off there if you want to have the sword in hand, I think, by the looks of things. There's a little blade icon there, which that means generally that you should cut things off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 components here for the standard bearer. The musician, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 components for our musicians. And if we flip over to the next page, we have some pose A, pose B, halberd, pose C, halberd. This is the duplication, I believe, of this page here. So that's interesting. And then maybe on the next page we've got some more. Yes, we do have some more. So here we've got some rest of the components. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. Cut the sword off if you want the sword in hand by the looks of things. That's just going to be annoying, I think. So we'll probably go with halberds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 makes the base. So there we go. For the halberd, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 components. So there we go. This is looking fairly promising. 9 components isn't too bad. Okay, so Jade Lancers. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 for a Jade Lancer, for the champion at least, because that's the entirety of the page there. That makes more sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 for the standard bearer. There we go. And the musician, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so these have got kind of like a 5 to 6 part increase over the top of the Jade Warriors. Okay, that kind of makes sense. So we do have the 3 for the command set, and then we have pose 1, or pose A. That's 1, 2 for pose B. Pose C is pose 3. Pose D is 4, and pose E is 5, plus the 3 that we've already had. That's 8 different poses for your troops, so there will be a bit of duplication there, of course. No optional extras over there either. That's one thing to point out. So we then finally come to the Fire Rain Rocket Battery and the Cathayan Grand Cannon. Now it is the exact same kit twice over, where you change a couple of things in order to get some variation. You can see how they've laid it out here. The green indicates to me the things that change depending on what kit you wish to have. So if you have the big Grand Cannon, you want to build the Ogre with the cannonball. If you want to have the Fire Rain Rocket Battery, you build the Ogre with the barrel. Makes sense to me. So we go through like this. The Cathayan artillery crew looks to be exactly the same here. Then we have one with the Fire Rain Rocket, which is maybe one of these two. No, it's this guy back here. We have the Cathayan artillery crew with wheelbarrow, which would be this individual just there. And we have the Fire Rain Rocket, which would be this guy back here. Not sure what that man's supposed to be. Oh, that would be the crew with fuse by the looks of things. There we go. Makes sense. We have the Ogre Loader with barrel and mace. We've already mentioned that. And we have the Ogre Loader with cannon ball. There we go. Then we have the Cathayan artillery itself, so where we build the rocket battery or the grand cannon, and then we build the carriage over here, and then finally put it all together, and hey presto, you have assembled your Cathayan battalion. Cool. Let's have a look at those sprues, shall we? So to build our Jade warriors, which is where the instruction manual starts, we're going to require this bag of bases, and we're going to require 9 of the finest sprues from Grand Cathay. Now this is all of them here. Now what I'm going to recommend you do is, the first thing you should do is actually just separate them like so, and this way we can actually match them up depending on which ones we're going to require to build each set of 10, and it just makes things a little bit easier when hunting for components rather than hunting through the same sprue multiple times because of the way they've put these together, which is really, really annoying. So there we go, that is a matched up sprue there, and that should be the same one. There we go. So there is pile number 1 of the sprues. There we go. Pile number 2 is here with the banner on. That's what we're looking for. So that means by default that this sprue here should all match up. Yes, there we go. 1, 2, and 3. Lovely, perfect set. And then what you can do is you can just do this. Take 1 from each, and that creates a set of 10 Jade warriors, not lancers. And if we just do the same thing again, 1, 2, and 3. We now have 2 sets of Jade warriors. That's twice I've done that. Jade warriors. That's 3 times I've done that. We have 3 sets of Jade warriors. Got it right that first time. Just then. Okay, so we'll look at these sprues one by one, and we will start with... Wait, hold on. Why does it look like that's the same thing again? I've gone wrong here by the looks of things. Damn it. Okay, no, I haven't gone wrong. No, 6 of these sprues are identical, and 3 of them are an upgrade sprue by the looks of things. So it's kind of worse than I thought. Well, better than I thought. Let me just check the instruction manual. Yeah. So that little key in the front there definitely indicates that these 2 sprues are the same. Alright, well, there you go. Makes it even easier, I guess. Well, we still want to divide them out like this, because that way we know what is a set of Jade warriors. Now, as mentioned, this set the battalion does build 30 of them, so you will need 3 sprues to build 10, theoretically. The body should double up, which apparently is the thing that's happening, so there we go. So let's have a look at the sprues, shall we? Let's start with this sprue just here. So let's have a look then. What's the quality like on this bad boy? So we've got all of our halberds here, and it looks like we don't have any connection points on any cutting edges of any of those halberds, which is really good. You see it's on the back of that kind of the crescent blade there. Same here, same here, same here, same here, 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 and here. And we do have a sword here. That's the champion sword. That is not connected on the cutting edge of the blade, and that is a very, very, very pretty sword. Look at that. That's gorgeous. It's connected on the back, on the non-cutting edge of the blade, so that's absolutely fine. It's much easier to smooth down that way. We're not actually connected on the arms by the looks of things, which is really cool. It means that'll go together quite nicely. We've got a couple of bits of flowing cloth, again connected at either end, 1 and 2, so not on the actual cloth itself. We do have an arm here, an arm here, an arm here, arm here, an arm here, and arm here as well. Actually, we've got a lot of arms going on. I'm guessing, like I said, this feels like the upgrade sprue, because we've got the drum and we've got the command, the banner here. Sorry, we've got the other part of the drum here. We should have another beater somewhere for the drum. Maybe it's on this sprue, maybe it's not. Maybe it's that there, 26, or maybe that goes there into the banner, 27. That would make sense. 71, 72. 73, it was right there all along, right next to it. Anyway, the arms are in pretty good condition. We're connected here where the shoulder goes into well, it's a pauldron, right? It's on the flat edge of the pauldron. And then we're connected here at the wrist generally. Now here we are connected on the elbow, and I can't tell if that's arm or if that's cloth just there. But that's not too bad. I mean, that's really, really good. For example, like this arm here, component 54, 7, 37, 21. They all avoid having a connection point at the elbow, which is really cool. On the cloth, for example, or on the smooth edge. So that's just really, really nice. This is a very, very cool sprue. And as far as I can tell, mold line wise, it's not leaping out at me that it's too bad. Got a little bit going on here on the drum. We've got a little bit here along the side of the banner, but actually this looks to be in pretty good nick. Now, of course, that might vary sprue to sprue, but this kind of quality test of the first sprue, it looks to be in pretty good nick. So that's not too bad at all, is it? All right, sprue number 1. Well done. We do actually have a head here as well, and that's connected on the underside of the neck, so I can't wait to see if that connects with the rest of the sprues, because we've got such an impressive hairdo there. We don't want to have a connection point inside there because we want to have all of those lovely little kind of strands of hair not smoothed out by accident with our knife or mold line remover. So that is very promising. Oh, it's very, very, very pretty. Just look at it. This is Cathay plastic for the first time. Wonderful. All right, let's have a look at the next sprue then. So this should be a little bit more involved because, well, it's actually just the same sprue twice over, isn't it? So we can actually just review this one, which is really cool. So we have another excellent, incredible, beautiful sword right there, and it's not connected on the cutting edge of the blade, I will point out, which is fantastic. Same here on this sword just there. This sword also escapes that dreaded fate, as does this one. Now it initially looks like it, but it is actually on the crossguard there, which is fine. We don't mind accidentally taking a little too much of the crossguard off because we want the blade to be intact. That is component 60 might be one of my favorite, or 40, whichever one it is, might be 40. That might be one of my favorite swords I've ever seen on a sprue. Unbelievable. God, it's gorgeous. I love it so much. We do have some of the bodies, actually. Well, I have all of the bodies here, other than the other 5 that are on the other sprue that are the same as this one. They're connected at the underside of the boot, the underside of the armor, and at the neck, generally. Like 1, 2, and 3, and 4. There should be a 5. Maybe it's this one here. Maybe I didn't count that one. That's very, very good. And we have some of the fronts of the torso, well, all of the fronts of the torso. I don't know why I keep saying some of. We're connected on the underside of the kind of sash at the belt there, which is a little bit congested, but that's okay. Same just here on the kind of scale mail. This one is not connected in that kind of way. It's on the underside and on the top side. My goodness me, is this the best specialist models that Games Workshop has ever made? I don't know. It might be. This is a very, very encouraging sprue. I like this a lot. The shields are really simple as well, just connected around the outside, which is cool. And all of these heads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 heads are all connected at the neck on the underside. Now, again, mold lines look to be a little thicker on this one, actually, but not too bad. So that's fairly encouraging. The only kind of one downside I'm seeing here actually really is in the helmet plumes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They've all got a connection point, not here where it's smooth, but right in the hair, and some of them have got 2. So this one's only got 1, but this one's got 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. 2 connection points on both of these in the actual helmet plume itself. So that's going to be a little bit tricky, but nothing we can't handle. We are expert builders around here after all. So let's have a look then, shall we? Jade Warriors. It's time to finally build the Legion, or the battalion, of Grand Cathay. And we'll see how long it takes to put together a Jade Warrior, shall we? Oh, this feels like an important moment. So our Jade Warriors are all built, and I think they look pretty fantastic. I hope you'll agree. And actually not too bad to put together. The only thing I will point out is that the arms are a little bit floaty, in regards that they've got this like kind of triangle, where it was a peg basically, where the arms glue in, but it's a little bit shallow, so it can be a little, like I said, a little bit floaty. It's not as kind of hard and fast as you would normally expect for something like that. So the arms kind of do tend to be a little bit sort of all over the place if you're a little bit vigorous with your kind of squeezing when you're building your models. So we're going to pop these out of the way just for now, because the next thing we're going to work on is the Jade Lancers. And well, we've already had a look at the instructions. We know that there's a couple of different ways to build them, but there aren't any optional extras in terms of components and things. There is now a plane flying overhead, so I can apologise for any background noise that you can now hear, which is a bit of a shame, but we must plough on because we've got a lot to do. So for our Jade Lancers, I've already broken up the sprues. These are actually 3 separate individual sprues. There we go. So rather than the last time where we had that duplicate plus an upgrade sprue, what we actually have here is a set of 1, 2 and 3. And these are identical times 2 to build 10 Jade Lancers. So we'll go 1 and 2 and 3. There we go. And in order to build them, we're going to require 5 of the larger rectangles, but not the largest of the rectangle bases. These are, just to find the exact dimensions, 30 by 60 millimeter rectangle square bases. Cool. So let's have a look then, shall we? Let's start with this sprue over here. Let's pop these 2 out of the way just for the moment. So here we go. Sprue number 1. Now, the first thing that's kind of leaping out at me is this awesome weapon. Halberd? Naginata? I'm not entirely sure. Somebody will know in the comments. There is no connection points on the cutting edges of either of those blades on either end. This looks like a champion's weapon to me. This looks like the command sprue, because we have the drum and we have the banner here as well. We only have the presence of, I think, just the 1 horse on here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. Not entirely 100% sure, but we do actually have a head over here, and that's interesting because the head is in a single piece, which is good. It's not going to have like kind of a split down the middle because it's in 2 halves, so that's quite encouraging, and that's really cool. Hopefully that continues throughout the rest of it. We do have one of the reins here. It's quite a long and complicated assembly, because that will clip into this side of the horse's head. You can see there's a gap just around there where that will go in, and then that will be on the arm. So it's going to be an interesting build for sure. There might be a little bit of long periods of holding the things close to one another. The banner is very impressive. Look at it. It's just a single piece here, which is interesting. The Jade Warriors were 2 pieces, the arm and the banner itself, but this is just a single piece. So we connected 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 times. That's it. Once here on the trail, twice on the actual banner. It's not in the pole in between, which is actually easier because it means it's less congested to try and smooth those down. We have 1 here on the smooth part of the pole and 1 here on a piece of armor, which is okay. So it's all nice and smooth pieces with which to deal. The horse's body in and of itself, we have a connection point on the underside of the hoof, underside of the hoof here, underside of the hoof there, and on the underside of the strap on the underside of the horse. That's good. And then here in the bindings of the tail as well, so that's very, very cool. So far, no connection points in the musculature of the horse. Could this be the best cavalry I've ever seen? Oh no, look over there. We have a connection point right there in the musculature of the horse. There on the belt as well, and here on the underside of the foot. Underside of the foot here, in the saddle and on the top of the neck. That's okay. Do want to watch out for the reins. We have already briefly talked about this one. Now these are floating, so that's only 1 connection point. There's not 2 there. You can see how it's moving with my finger. Same over here as well. So this might mean that there might be a little bit of damage on theirs, on yours. This one looks absolutely fine, but only because there is a little kind of spar here which is protecting it from being crushed into the desk. but it might be that in your box you might have a little bit of bend or a little bit of fragility there, because they're not particularly solid components. It is quite, there's a lot of malleableness. They're quite malleable, I think, is actually how you're supposed to say that. But there we go. We have one of the helmet plumes over here where we're connected in the hair again, just like we were on the Jade Warriors. So that's one thing to watch out for. And then on the horsetail here and the horsetail here, we're connected here on this horsetail in the hair. This one we're not. This is again same on the base of the binding on the tail. So it's not bad. It's not great. It's not bad. It's looking pretty good. I'm cautiously optimistic about these to build them, which is very, very cool. Lovely stuff. Okay. We have one of the torsos as well for one of the riders just over here. I can't see another one. Oh no, up here, up on top left. We're connected on the underside of the belt, and we're connected in the arm pit. Again, so you see there's that little diamond shape just there. So it might be that these arms could also be a little bit floaty if it's not. It's not particularly protruding, and that the shoulders themselves are quite shallow as well, so there's a little bit of movement in there. It's the second plane going overhead now. I apologize for any additional noise. One thing I am seeing though on these bodies is it's marked with a D and a C here, which is nice. It means that they line up if you want to leave the bodies off, and you can mark the horses in such a way that they are also D and C. It might be that they're on the inside. There we go, inside of the leg D. If you want to leave the bodies off for sub-assembly, it means that is entirely possible because of that demarcation, which is very, very cool. Cool. Sprue number 1, looking great. Fantastic. All right. Sprue number 2. Here it is. So here is where we have our shields, and we have our lances here and here and here and here. The cutting edges all avoid that dreaded fate, which is fantastic. Connected once on the pole here, and not on this one, but we are not on this one either. So on 2 of them we have a connection point on the pole of the lance, or the shaft or haft of the lance. Anyway, so that's okay. We have the 5 shields here, 1 2 3 4 5. Only 2 connection points on these. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 connection points total for the 5 shields. That's good. Just means less things to smooth down, which is fantastic. The horse bodies continue that theme before. We have a connection point on the underside of the hoof here, underside here where it's going to be hidden, in the saddle, in the armor there. We have it on I believe it is called a girth. We always go through this, and I don't think anyone's ever mentioned it in the comments. Please tell me, is the band that goes under the saddle the girth? I cannot remember for the life of me. We have a connection point there in the binding of the tail, but also here in the hair as well, underside of the hoof there. Over here we're in the armor, on the saddle, on the top of the armor of the neck, on the underside of the hoof, one here in the saddle, and so on and so forth. And then we have another body where we have 1 connection point here on the rump of the horse. So that's pretty good. It seems to me that the musculature is escaping, which is very, very cool, and I'm very, very encouraged. Here we have another one right there on the rump, so it's not too bad. But for example, normally you'd see a connection point there on the knee, or right here on the back of the leg. We haven't had that so far. Similarly for the bodies, 1, and there should be another one here. No, just the 1 body, 1 torso here. Not that one doesn't look to have been marked with a letter, which is interesting. At least I can't see one. So the other 2 did, but this one doesn't. So okay, cool. This is a very cool sprue. All right, next up, let's see if it's more of the same, or if there's anything to worry about. I think it's more of the same. Yeah, looks to be. So we have 1 more of the lances just here, and we have more of the horses, and they're connected in very much the same way as the other ones. The one thing I will point out actually that we didn't on the others is that some of the lances have got connection point here in the kind of embellishment around the lance. It's a little bit congested. You basically just want to be careful, not accidentally take the tip off of any of these lovely swirly bits on that assembly of the lance, because they're very, very pretty. But otherwise it looks to be fairly similar. The horse body's pretty much exactly the same. I don't think any of the muscles of any of the legs have got a connection point on them. So that is going to speed things up massively. Oh, what a treat. These look spectacular. So we'll have to see how long it takes to build one. The mold lines seem to be in pretty good nick as well. There's a couple here and there, so we shall that'll slow us down, but this might be the fastest cavalry unit we've ever painted. So well, built. We haven't got to the painting yet. We must find out how long it takes to build first. So our lancers are now all built, as you can see, and they look absolutely fantastic. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pop them to one side, and I'm going to work on the next thing, which is of course the cannon. Now we've already looked at these sprues, basically, and you get one of these times 2 to build the same 2 cannons. Now each one of these sprues builds one cannon and all of its crew. You can build the same cannon twice, or you can build one of either of the cannons, the rocket thrower, or just the big Grand Cathay Canyon. I'm probably just going to build the one for now, because we've got a lot of stuff to get through, but here it is. Now it's just the one sprue, it is duplicated, but what we will do is we will just snap it in half, so we can have a good look at each half of the sprue individually. So here it is. Here is sprue number 1, and well, firstly we do have most of the ogre here and here. These are gorgeous pieces of plastic right there, looking absolutely spectacular. They're pretty reasonably well connected to the sprue as well, on the underside of the foot here, on a smooth belt, here on the shoulder, here on the joint of the arm, this one similarly on the armpit, here at the nape of the neck. I think that's the nape, or the scruff if it was a cat. And we have the underside, and here on the leg as well. It's on a pouch. So nothing that's kind of like cramped in too much to something like the kind of this sort of area, which is pretty good, and we like to see that sort of thing. We have another member of the crew here, mostly intact body, this one, 26 and 44, which is pretty cool. I think they come in 2 halves, same as over there and there. There's not too much to build on the crew, mercifully, so actually it's the cannon that's going to be the sort of the main jobby. I've kind of had a sort of brief look at it. It's roughly 35 components to build the whole of the crew and the cannon of your choice. A little bit more for the flame fire rocket thing, but you know, kind of expect that sort of thing. We have part of the large cannonball that the ogre will be carrying here. We have the touch fuse here as well, which is looking pretty cool. We have one connection point there in the smoke. The majority of the cannon pieces, though, as you would expect, were just connected around the outside. They kind of sat here on a sort of flat 2D plane. Mold lines seem to be in pretty good condition, like so far in the rest of the set, which is very, very cool. We don't have to worry too much about the rest of the fuse, the touch fuse, just because the arms are both attached here. So this should be reasonably easy to attach to the model itself, whichever one it is, which is pretty good. It's not going to have that kind of sort of slightly floaty issue that the rest of the miniatures have had so far, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad sprue by any stretch of the imagination. It's kind of what you'd expect from an artillery team. It's fairly sort of accurate to what we've seen so far from various things like the Krieg artillery team, for example. It's a very simple, elegant sprue, which I quite like, so that's nice. And like I said, it's all kind of mostly in the 2D plane for the main carriage, which is really the main event, as well as that ogre, which is the sort of secondary event, if you were. This sprue here is the one that actually contains the majority of the gun itself. We do have things like this bucket here, and we have the head, which is connected unfortunately on the side of the head there for the ogre, and this one's connected right on the top of the head, which is a bit of a no-no. We don't like to see that. We'd rather have it kind of under here on the underside of the neck, which would be better. And we have another one of the heads as well for one of the crew, and we're connected twice here, once and twice there by the neck, which is fine, but they're out on the side of the bandana, which is not ideal. But there we go. Can't have it all, I guess. But I do want it all. The only slight downside here, I think, is that the cannon is, well, it's not like a drum that's sideways on the sprue, so it's not like an intact. These the barrels of the cannon, both here and here as well, they are in two halves, so there is a risk that you'll have a line going down the middle of the top of your cannon or out the side. So you might need a little bit of green stuff. You will definitely need to be careful around the sides here so that you don't take too much off, because you will get some inconsistencies there. So the best thing to do is to clip both pieces off, 13 and 14 if you need them, and kind of smooth them out together with the knife or mold line remover at the same time. That way it will kind of close the seam a little bit around what you're smoothing, but also you won't kind of accidentally take too much off of one and then have to try and neaten it up between the two. So that's just my little top tip for the cannon, just there. We also do have the kind of top of the more of the cannon, which looks absolutely just fantastic. I mean, look at that component right there. That's amazing. And this one here too is looking absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's elegant, it's simple, shouldn't be too difficult to put together. I'm hoping that we're going to stick the landing here and that we're going to enjoy this one as much as the other two kits that we've constructed so far from the battalion. There hasn't been too much to criticize of it so far, but we do have a slightly wonky ogre head attachment, so we'll have to see if that affects the overall build. We will be requiring, though, for the cannon that I'm intending with the wheelbarrow and all that kind of thing, we will be requiring the largest base, one of these thinner rectangular bases, the largest square, and two of the same normal square bases that we've used on the Jade Warriors as well. That's just something we forgot to do at the beginning there, but that is what we're going to require to build this lovely artillery piece. So I think we should just get started, shouldn't we? Let's see how long it takes to build a big old cannon. Ooh, boy, that took a while. Fiddly is what it is, but there we go. Our Cathay Grand Cannon is now built. Looks amazing. I really like it. So what we're going to do is we're now going to pop this to one side, and I feel like it's probably time that we built a leader for our cannon. Not cannon, well, a leader for our cannon certainly, but a leader for our little battalion of Cathayan soldiers. So we're going to start with the Gate Masters of the Celestial Cities, because it's, you know, kind of a continuation of what we've already just done. We will get to the Spirit Longma probably after this one, but let's get this one open. Let's have a look, shall we? The Gate Masters of the Celestial Cities. Now you get two in here, one on foot and one on a barded Cathayan horse. This is going to be interesting. See if these are particularly in depth or if they are reasonably simple. Okay, we've got one sprue. We have an entire transfer sheet, so same as the one that comes in the battalion, and we have two bases. They don't look that big, and we have a little instruction manual there. So let's just have a quick look, shall we? See what we've got. So Celestial Blade and Battle Standard, Shield and Celestial Blade. Oh, I see. So you can put... Oh, okay. Cool. Alright. Interesting. So you can put the Battle Standard on the horse, or you can put it on the ground. You can put the same for the Shield and the Celestial Blade. Interesting. Okay. So, does the Grandmaster on foot have any optional extras? Yes, we have optional heads. Not sure if it's this interchangeable head with the other one. We shall find out in due course. 11 and 10 there as well as the additional I don't know why I said that. Well, optional tassels by the looks of things, which is interesting. There we go. And there's the Gate Master mounted, going all the way along. Optional head, again, not sure if it's the same one as this. Actually, yes, 1 and 2. So yes, we do have the same head. You just put one on one and one on the other, basically, by the looks of things. And yeah, there we go, that's it. So an optional head, and the banner is optional on either of your guys. Has to go on one of them though. Okay, cool. Makes sense to me. Alright, let's have a little look at that sprue, shall we then? Here it is. So, firstly, the banner comes in multiple different parts. So here is the actual banner itself, and then we have the banner pole there, which glues in here. We then have the hanging lantern, which is awesome, by the way. It didn't look to me like if you put it on the horse, it was recommending that you actually put the lantern on. Let's see. You've got the lantern there on the one on foot, which is present there on the box art version. And then on the one on horse, yeah, no, it doesn't recommend that you do put the lantern on the one on horse, which is interesting. Yeah, yeah, okay. Just needed that question answering. Okay, so here is the sprue then. We have an absolutely gorgeous cloak just over here, just a single piece of a cloak, which is lovely. We love to see that kind of thing. Just makes it nice and simple to put together. The horse comes in two halves by the looks of things. I've got some schmutz on mine, which is cool, I guess. Got rid of that nice and quickly. We have the other cloak here for, I'm guessing, the one on the horse, because it's a bit more billowy. Again, single piece cloak, which is just excellent, really. We like that. And we will point out that for the banner, it's just a single piece of wide open plastic, which is very, very cool. Again, makes it nice and simple to put these things together. Now, the horse does not have any connection points in the musculature, which is fantastic. And yeah, no, just admire that just for a second longer, because that's very, very, very cool. We love that. We have this part, which is the underside of the horse's head by the looks of things, and this will be the top of the horse's head, which comes unfortunately in two halves, so watch out for a gap going down the middle of the horse's head through the armor. It's not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. You know, just kind of like we did on the cannon, recommended on the cannon. Push the two pieces together dry, and then give it a smoothing whilst you're doing it at the same time, because we do have connection points right on the top there. It's one of those things where if you gouge it too much, you'll end up with that kind of inconsistency on an upward facing, outward facing detail, which naturally you definitely don't want to see. Now, we have two separate banner poles. I'm guessing one is specifically aligned to the one on horse and one is specifically aligned to the one on foot. We're probably going to put the banner on foot, and we'll just have the horse as is, I suspect. We'll just go with how it is on the box art, I think, because it means we get the lantern in there, which is pretty cool little piece of gubbins. And then we have kind of like bodies and things. So the horse's legs, very familiar with the lancers. By the horse's legs, I mean the rider's legs, who goes on the horse. Here and here should have a torso somewhere that slides in between them and then just goes on the top somewhere that I'm not seeing. It'll be there. No, there it is. Now component 30. So that's cool. That's kind of a familiarity and a continuation of what we've already done, which is really great, because it's kind of, like I said before, it's kind of training you how to make your models, as it were, which is just ultimately a very good thing. The other body is pretty much coming in two halves, although we do have a stray leg once again with the boot that will go into a square, which will be under here, which, okay, it's fine. It's an extra piece. Don't see why it needs to be. If you can sculpt one foot on, you could probably sculpt the other foot on as well. I'm just saying, that would make more sense. We have two swords as well, here and here, and we don't have a connection point on the cutting edges of either of those, which is fantastic. Love to see that that's escaped that dreaded fate. And we have what I think is a head. Yeah, looks like a head to me, which is connected on the underside of the neck. This one is connected where the front of the face is going to go in, so that's not too bad. And that's kind of it. Well, we do have some plumes here and here, connected right in the hair over there, same over here as well. So again, just be careful around those. Again, don't apply too much pressure, because you don't want to accidentally kind of take away any of the strands of hair by smoothing it out, because it just will be noticeable, because it's right slap bang on the top of the head of this character. So when you're looking down at it, It's the only thing you'll be able to see. So you just want to watch out for that. Yeah, okay, it's an interesting sprue, that's for sure. What are the mold lines like? Oh, can't really see very many. Again, really good condition. That's very, very good. We like that. Should be nice and easy to clean this up. But is it going to be easy to build? Because I'm seeing up to 32 there, but I'm pretty certain there's more than that of components. 33. So maybe there's a 34 that I'm just not spotting for now. But it's a lot of components for 2 characters. There's a lot. Even if one is on the horse. So let's find out, shall we? Together. So with our gate masters all built, they look fantastic. Alright, they go to one side because we have another character to build. Yes, we are going to build the Shugengan Lord on the Great Spirit Longma. There it is. I apologise for any noise you can hear because once again the neighbours are at it doing something in the garden. I have no idea, but there we go. So let's have a look at this, shall we? Let's pull this out. Oh, it's a pretty big base. It's almost as big as a cannon. In fact, it is the same size as a cannon. So this is going to be a mighty miniature. We get our instruction manual, which feels weighty as always. And we get not 1, but 2 whole sprues to build our Shugengan Lord on Great Spirit Longma. So, what are the options that we have within here? Well, inside this box we have the Cathayan Lance or the Celestial Blade, the Iron Talons or the Dragonfire Pistol. That was on page that I just opened. We have 2 heads as well, 2 different faces, one with long hair and one without, by the looks of things. I don't know why I've started this in the middle, but we have 2 different heads for the actual Spirit Longma as well, which is cool. And that seems to be, at least to my eyes, about it, basically. There we go. Okay, it seems like a fairly simple build. There's not a lot of customization going on here, so you probably won't have a couple of these. Well, maybe you have 2 of them to have a couple of different options, but there we go. And there seems to be about 36 components to build this one model. So that's interesting. This is going to be another complicated one. Okay, let's have a look at the big sprue first, shall we? That seems like a sensible thing to do. So, here it is. Let's have a look, shall we? Okay, so, what are we seeing here? Well, we're seeing the majority of the actual mount itself. And, well, it doesn't look too bad on first inspection. I'm not seeing anything that's particularly leaping out at me. We do have, for example, well, we've got the wings here, right? And we saw in the instruction manual that the wings are in multiple parts, so there is a risk that you're going to have these connection slight gaps going down the kind of membranes. At least it's not kind of like a gap going across the wing like this. It's going to be up against a one of the spines of the wings, which is, you know, better in some ways, but also still, you know, they're not just one single long piece, which, you know, we've seen before, which is always really cool to see. But there we go. The majority of the body here, with the tail being almost fully intact by the looks of things, is very, very cool. Again, so we're not going to have a line here where the tail just kind of is in half, which is nice to see. But the body is in a half here, which will go into this half. So we're going to want to have to watch out for kind of any sort of gaps that are going along the sort of main part of the torso, as it were. And then we are, unfortunately, despite with all the horses that we've had so far, on this one it was inevitable that we were going to have connection points in the musculature of the dragon, as it were. It's just always going to be a thing, right? Because it's the majority of this model, right? So here we've got a connection point there on the musculature, and here as well. We have one here as well, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. And that's on the saddle, so that's okay. We have a connection point there as well on the musculature of the wing. So Is it ideal? No, but it's absolutely kind of what you'd expect. We do have the kind of feet of the Spirit Longma, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for some reason, they are all separate, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Kind of just stretching out how many components this one can be by having all of the feet separate. Because again, we know that they can sculpt them onto the legs. That's not a problem. But it is one of those things, right? So there we go. Separate feet for everything. Who'd have thought? We do have the helmet plume up here as well. We're connected in the actual hair once, twice. So it's not on the connection point with the rest of the head, but it is both times in the hair, which isn't great, but it is what it is. Yeah, just as always, we've spoken about. And everything's got a helmet plume these days in the Cathay and stuff. So you just want to watch out that you don't accidentally apply too much pressure and end up removing any of those strands, because that wouldn't be great. That would be sad for everybody involved. But okay, I mean, that's the majority of the longma. Kind of what you'd expect from a fantastical beast. So next up we have this little sprue here, and this is where we see the majority of the Shugengan Lord by the looks of things. But we do also have the two head options, 1 and 2, one with mouth closed and one with mouth open, and again those go right down the middle of the head. It doesn't feel like there's any overlapping features, so it is a possibility that you will have a line or a gap going up the middle of the head. So just watch out for that. Just be careful. You know, if you need to, like I said before, smooth it down at the same time, press them together, dry fit them together, and use your knife or mold line to remover to smooth them down, and then use a fair bit of glue, and you should be fine. But accidents happen, I guess. We have a couple of the shoulders here, 1 and 2. They're looking suitably ornate and gorgeous. These look like whiskers for the longma. They look nice and spindly, but they are only connected once each time, so you don't have to worry about kind of applying undue pressure. You will have to be careful, of course, that you don't take too much off of these, because they are beautifully smooth and rounded pieces. So just be, you know, as always, careful with your knife or mold line remover to not apply too much pressure. And both the blades, 1 and 2, do not have a connection point on the cutting edges of the blade. Now it is kind of almost like a sort of double cutting edge at the back here, but same on the horse. That's a sword, not a horse. But the main drive of it is that we don't have it here on the cutting edge. So it's actually, in many ways, that's still okay. It's very tapered, cutting sort of edge almost on the back. So it's not the best to have a connection point there or there, but at least it's not there on the frontward facing part, which is the bit that really matters. We also, of course, have this large rock here, which is gorgeous, connected around the outside, which makes sense to me. And we do, unfortunately, also here, we have got connection points on the soft trousers. So not just on the underside of the boot or in the joint here, but on the actual trouser on the outside here and here. So you want to watch out for that. Okay, it's better than I expected, this one. But there's a lot of components to this. So I don't know if this is going to be an easy build or if this is going to be a nightmare. We shall find out, of course, together as we put together the Shugengan Lord on Great Spirit Longma. So our Great Spirit Longma is now all built. That was a journey. So we'll pop him to one side, because now I suspect we're going to go on another great journey, and well, we're going to work on the Sky Lantern. Okay, so this one makes me really nervous, because I have a sinking feeling this is going to be about 250 components. Let's have a look, shall we? Inside the box, though, you do have the ability to build either a lantern gunner with gunpowder bombs or lantern gunner with crane gun. and also you get a Magistrate of Grand Cathay, and but it can be built with a Magistrate in the Sky Lantern or just one on foot. So, you know, there you go. That's cool. Oh god. I'm just seeing the sprues. Alright, there it is. Look at that. Wow. Okay. 1, 2 of the same sprue. We've got that's a unique looking flying stand, that's for sure. We've got one of the old adapters. Not sure what that's for. There we go. And we get 1, 2 more duplicate sprues, and we get 1 unique sprue with all the detail. Big old square base, small square base, an enormous transfer sheet. Wow, look at that. That's gorgeous. That's fantastic. And then we have our instruction manual, which feels decently weighty. Okay, it's a lot of components. Like I said, I'm very nervous that this one is going to take 6 to 8 hours to put together based on what we've done so far. Okay, let's have a little look, shall we? So we have Sky Lantern with crane gunners, Sky Lantern with bomb rack, and iron hail gunners. There you go. So we build all the gunners first. So Commander Champion, Lantern Gunner 2, Lantern Gunner 3, and Lantern Gunner 4. This is for the iron hail guns. Is it going to do the thing where it tells you to do 9B again? No, it's not. Okay, so build everything all the way through by the looks of things. Okay, that's better at least. That's what we like to see. I really like these crane guns. They're very cool. Okay, so then we build this individual, building up the basket. Then we build lantern gunners with sky lantern bombs. Lantern gunners all then go in. This is going to be a sub-assembly. I'm sorry, I would have failed you on this instance. The actual lantern part of it doesn't look to be actually all that complicated, but I'm just a bit flabbergasted by this. Why? Why is that in so many pieces? Oh, for goodness sake. Wow. Okay. Interesting. I mean, look, there's all the different options you can build. So that's cool, I suppose. On the back. This fills me with dread looking at this. Because it's not entirely clear either. So look, there you go. Lantern gunners with iron hail guns and gunpowder or dragonfire bombs. Okay, so here, there's one with a bomb rack and there's one without. So that's the thing. And then, so there you go. Lantern gunners with iron hail guns and gunpowder or dragonfire bombs. There we go. So that's your first set of individuals that go on there. Then you have lantern gunners with crane guns. That's your second set of individuals. And then you come to this, where you build up the entirety of the basket, and that's built up to that level there. And then it goes sky lantern bombs, and then lantern gunners with sky lantern bombs, which apparently wasn't an option. There you go, sky lantern with crane gunners, lantern gunners with sky lantern bombs, lantern gunners. There you go. So once that's all built, you then add the, and then you've got yeah, sub-assemblies for sure. There's no question in my mind. Okay, let's have a look at these sprues, shall we? So we'll start with the first of our duplication sprues. So there's this one here. This is most of the rigging by the looks of things, and also parts of the actual basket itself as well, I think. We have a couple of shields here as well. This should be a reasonably simple sprue because it's just all kind of connected around the outside. Got nice and sturdy rigging here. Looking very good, only with a single connection point on either side, and then once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 connection points on the underside of that rigging. Okay. We have 2 swords, 85 and 85. Neither of those have got a connection point on the cutting edge, which is great. I'd like to see that. And we've got some of these bombs here where they're connected. Well, they're not connected. Well, they are connected 1, 2, 3 times, and then they've also come in multiple parts for some reason that is yet to be determined. It's a pretty simple little sprue, that. I feel like that could probably have been one single sprue. It probably was at one point. There you go. There's the same sprue once, twice, and there you go. That's the one. Okay, reasonably quick there on that first part. We'll go for the next of the duplicated sprues, because that one seems fairly easy. And this is where we have the majority of our sky lantern. Yay! And most of the rigging here is actually sculpted in to the lantern itself, which is nice. So the rest of that stuff, the long cables, should be for attaching this to the basket, which is pretty cool. So that's reasonably interesting and quite good to put together. We've got the sort of large area of the basket as well. You can start to see the kind of diameter of which you've got to play with, which is why we're 100% going to be sub-assembling this. I know, it's a shocking thing. But this obviously then goes into the other sprue, and again, all connected around the outside. So actually, generally cutting all of this stuff away from the sprue shouldn't be too difficult. Mold lines should be all the way around the outside if they're going to be there at all, and the connection points all the way around the outside. So you can just orientate these sprues like this and get rid of all of the extra flash that you need to with your knife or mold line remover. So yeah, I mean, look, this part seems fairly simple to put together. It's just the rest of it that is probably going to be the tricky part. And as to where the sub-assemblies are going to go, it's basically the crew, but then we're going to have to assemble this assembly as a separate thing, and then also the basket, and then I suspect paint our way up, because I'm not holding this as I'm painting it. No way. So well, we'll see how it looks as it's coming together. So that's fairly simple, and then we have the most complex sprue of all of Cathay by the looks of things, where we have some elements of the rigging and things like this. So there's kind of sky veins out either side of the balloon, and we have the kind of part of the bomb racks here as well. I think that is part of the bomb racks. Then all of the crew is located within this mess of components, and it's kind of bewildering to look at. There's so much detail here, but I don't think there's going to be much to kind of report in terms of things that we've not really kind of already seen from the Cathay sprues. It generally looks to be fairly similar. For example, connection points on the underside of boots, for example. The Magistrate's looking nice with quite a chunky connection point there on the side of a smooth hat, which is something to watch out for. The guns as well seem to be really fairly decently connected. We're kind of aiming to have connection points around the outside of stuff, like for example down here outside of the cloth and things like that. We have a couple of connection points here and there in each of the kind of pouches and stuff like that, but there's some absolutely gorgeous components here. These guns are just absolutely magnificent. They look incredible, and I really like this kind of navigation component just down here. Very spindly though, that doesn't look particularly sturdy, so you want to watch out if you're going to be using this version. You're going to clip it just nice and steady, kind of go around, starting from this orientation and go around the other way, because you might start putting a pressure on places you don't want to. And I will suggest over here, if you're going to be building with the bomb racks, you want to clip sort of there first, and you want to kind of come at it from underside and clip it so that it doesn't have that pressure of being kind of pressed on by clipping around the outside of this section here, because otherwise you might snap some of these and let them in. They're already quite, there you go, look at the give in that particular rope just there. Okay. It's a bewildering sprue to look at. I think for this one it's kind of a case of pick your choices before you go and stick to them, essentially, is what I think I would recommend, because I think otherwise it's going to be very easy to get lost in the build of this. Mold lines seem to be fairly non-existent on this one, which is really cool. So that's looking great, especially given us the amount of kind of detail that's over here on this side of the sprue. And those larger pieces actually looked in good nick as well. We do have a little bit going on here on the, I guess that's where the hot air is delivered on that component there. But generally it looks to be okay in terms of the cleanup. So maybe in that regard it'll be pretty quick. But I think with the just amount of components we're going to be using to put this together, this is going to be quite a lengthy build. So we'll have to find out. We'll find out together. But there you go. That's the Sky Lantern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprues in total. Blimey. Our Sky Lantern is all built, and as you can see I've mounted the crew and the table on some old circle bases. Don't worry, they're not going to stay on those. These are square base miniatures after all. But that's just for the sake of priming and being able to paint them separately, because we have of course built this in sub-assemblies. Now the sub-assemblies are as follows. We have the crew like that. We have the entirety of the basket in one. There it is. Looking cool. And we have... Hold on, how's this going to sit? There we go, sits like that, quite nicely. And we have the entirety of the balloon. Now I've attached all of the rigging to the balloon as well, or the lantern, whatever it's supposed to be. And the reason I've done that is because it made much more sense than putting them on there, or indeed having them completely separate. They do sit quite flushly at the right angle, so when they go together, when we finally come to actually fully assemble this thing at the end, it should be all good. So there we go, that's the sub-assemblies as it stands. And yeah, so there is now one remaining kit to put together. We just need to move some of this stuff out of the way, and by some I mean all. I'll just pop the crew up here for the moment. Now, oh, we lost one. Okay, fine. I had a little bit more super glue to that one. Not so super after all. Anyway, our final kit is the thing I've been most excited for, the Cathay Sentinels. Because gorgeous. Absolutely love it. And there is two variants in the box, but it's not really a variant. They're exactly the same, but there's a posing difference. So one is basically looking out here towards the left, and the other with the one side of the glaive down and one side of the glaive up, and the other one is one side of the glaive up and one side of the glaive down, looking off in this direction. So that's the amount of variation you get in your box. So two might be enough, but who knows, maybe you want 6 or 7, because these are absolutely beautiful. And yeah, let's have a look at this kit then, shall we? There it is, another tray. Alright, so we have 1, 2 and 3 whole sprues. There we go. And we have an instruction manual, and we have a large square base, well, rectangular base, as it were. Okay, cool. So there's the instructions, 3 sprues with which to play. So let's have a look, shall we, very quickly. Now, this is going to be in a 3,000 components, I'm pretty certain. And as you can see right away on the legs, right there, it's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 for one leg. 14 components per leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 components to then finish off the legs. 18 components, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 29 whole components plus the 14 from earlier, so 30, 40 something, 44 components just to put together the legs. Then we move into the torso, and as you can see, nothing really changes, but then we have pose 1. Here we are. So there's 2 different face plates, I believe, in the box. Yes, down here, 80 and 81, 2 different face plates, and there's 2 different weapon ends as well, 161, 160, 155, 159. Take your pick, basically. So there's pose 1, and then it's finished. Or pose 2, and then it's finished. Makes sense. I mean, that's it, really. That's all there is to it. So let's have a little look, shall we, at the sprues. Starting with this one. Here it is. The little sprue first. Let's do that one. Makes sense. Get it out of the way. So, big stompy Sentinel thing made out of elemental rock. So, theoretically, it should be nice and easy to put together, and everything should be sat in a 2D plane. I don't anticipate there being much in the way of mold lines here, and if there are, they should be reasonably simple to deal with. But there is, like we said, a lot of components, and so we're just going to have to be patient with this one, I'm afraid, because it's going to take a little while to put together. Now, cutting edge of the blade doesn't really matter either because of how big it is. It's massive. It's not like it's kind of a fine sword weapon. Nope, it's a big thing made of obsidian, of granite, of jade, of terracotta, whatever you want it to be made out of. It can be made out of that. So it doesn't really matter if it's a kind of smooth edge. So it's not something really to criticize it for, but ultimately this is what it looks like. There is a little bit of fiddliness here with the fingers of the hands. I imagine that's going to be a little bit annoying to put together, and of course making sure we get the orientation of these parts for the grand blade. This is the bit where the weapon slots into. It's going to be one of those things where they kind of glue over the top of the blade, so making sure they're just really tightly pressed together so you don't end up with a big gap is going to be really important there. So just watch out for that kind of thing. Make sure you just got to get all of that extra flash off, and over here as well, because that way you're not kind of accidentally putting in a gap into your model. But there you go. Blimey, look at it. I'm seeing lots of grooves and things like around here, for example, which indicates that there is some kind of a lot of guide markers for building this thing, so that's pretty good. But otherwise, that's the small sprue, basically. What do you think? I like it. It's nice. I'm not sure which is my favourite blade. Probably this one, actually. I like the large sweeping bit up here. It's cool. It's very cool. There you go. And like, as I said, you know, connection points should all be around the outside, so it should just be a case of moving these sprues like this sort of orientation. Nothing there spindly. It's all very solid. Very, very good. So that's sprue number 1. So here's sprue number 2. This is where we get more of things like our legs and stuff. Got the kind of those sort of hip plates that I never know the name of. Bits of the torso, the thighs and stuff like this. These kind of large open pieces of armor, for lack of a better word. There is a bit of a spindly detail here. This is one of those kind of leathery trails with some parchment blowing in the wind off of them, which I think attaches to the right leg of the Cathay and Sentinel. That's just one thing to watch out for. Just a little bit kind of fragile, but it should be okay because everything else is just so solid on here. That'll be the one to get tripped up on. But there you go. Check that out. It's looking pretty good, right? Like I said, all in this orientation should be simple to clean up. Assembly is a different question. There's a lot of things to assemble here, but we shall look at sprue number 3, and this is where we see the truly enormous weapon. You get the feel for how big that's going to be, right? I mean, look at that. It's got to be something like 10 inches long, something like that, if we pop one of these on either side. Yeah, something like that. It's ginormous. Sons of Bahamut fans, you're going to find quite a lot of things that are very cool in here, I'm sure. So yeah, I mean, this is a slightly more busier sprue than the other one that we just looked at, the double-sized one. But as you can see, again, just all of these details, all of these components are just kind of all in this orientation. So it should be very, very easy to clean up. And again, I can't see anything too fiddly or too tiny there. So it's looking pretty good. It's going to be one of those ones where I think you're just going to have to really watch the instructions, make sure you're following those, and just kind of dry fit things before you go. But the cleanup of it should be pretty quick. it's just the sheer amount of components which is going to actually take the amount of time to build this. So with all that in mind, we should probably get on and build it. Now, we don't know what we don't know, but for example, these shoulders, we already pointed it out about the blade, but these shoulders come in 2 parts, maybe a third. I can't quite tell. I didn't have a good enough look at the instructions, I suppose. That's my bad. Yes, actually, that makes sense. That would be over the top of these. Because of the kind of sort of, I guess you'd call that scale plateness or chain mail. Stone mail, whatever it is. You shouldn't have to worry too much about gaps and things. The only thing that maybe we should worry about is on this sprue here is the gap here on the thigh, because there is just like a hard transition right here, there and there. That's the only thing that I've spotted so far within the sprue, but ultimately, is it really a problem? You know, big stone thing, who knows? But I certainly don't. But I do think it is time to build one. Really quick for this. It's just very, very simple, and really it's just a look at the components here, because there's a huge amount of volume, but it's not that complicated to clean up, if you see what I mean, basically. Which, you know, kind of like when you see like a Lehman Russ tank sprue. It's all in one orientation. It's all pretty easy to clean up, and everything's quite large, so it should be quite nice to do. Quite sturdy as well. Much more sturdy than that sky lantern, that's for sure. So there you have it, all built. And I did say it's all primed. It is all primed. But what's been finished? Well, I would love to say I did all of the big stuff. Instead I did 3 of the big stuff, but not the other one. So we have a terracotta Grand Cathayan Sentinel here for you. So that's really cool. I really like this one. We have a Jade one, which is one you guys won't have seen unless you follow me on Instagram just yet. You'll have seen the terracotta one, and you'll have seen the next one if you've checked out the Warhammer community article in the last couple of days. But there it is, our Jade Sentinel. I think this might be close to being my favourite one of the 3. And now, of course, we have our Obsidian one as well. So that is our 3rd Sentinel all done. And this one is not a contrast painted miniature. There is contrast paint here, but it's not contrast plus. I bet you can't guess how I did it. You probably can. Finally, something that isn't Sentinels, we did in fact manage to complete 10 of the finest Jade Warriors. And I'm really, really pleased with how these have come out. Really like that scheme. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to do the Lancers and the other stuff as well. Fingers crossed. So yeah, I've done 3 Sentinels. Jade, Terracotta and Obsidian. And we've also done 10 of the Jade Warriors. And I'm really pleased with all of that stuff. But I've lost basically a week's worth of work to all the heat. I'm working on the Gate Masters of the Celestial Cities. I keep wanting to say Gatekeepers. Don't know why. But we have got the Spirit Longma, we've got the Cannon, and we have also got the Sky Lantern as well to come, as well as the Jade Knights, actually. So hopefully we're going to get some of that stuff done over the coming few days. But I'm going to endeavour to get all of this done because we haven't had a huge plethora of the old world content, and this is a brand new range of plastic, and this is what I've wanted. So I really want to do it for you guys. Just bear with me, okay? Yes. So, what did we think of the building experience and the sprues in general? Well, okay, so Specialist Game Syndrome is what we're calling this, and I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect here because 40k and AOS and Kill Team, Warcry, Underworlds, all of that stuff feels like it's done by one team that have had a lot of practice to put together instruction booklets and put together things like the kits and stuff like that. And they've been doing this for a very, very, very long time in plastic. And Specialist Games feels a little bit like they're just sort of starting to not hit their stride with it, but they've been doing a little bit more of it recently. And they are still learning as they're going in plastic rather than resin. I don't know the ins and outs of the structure over there at Games Workshop, but that's kind of what it feels like, because in some ways Cathay and Horus Heresy is very similar in this regard. There is a disconnect between the instruction manuals and the components and the way that these kits go together. In that there's elements, for example, on the Sentinel that very much feel like if you made a resin kit in plastic, this is what you would get. So there's stuff that doesn't quite join up without a lot of kind of fiddling about with it. But you're using plastic glue, so everything's a little bit more malleable, which makes it a little bit easier, but at the same time there's not like the kind of guide pegs and holes and things and stuff like that, for example, on the Sentinel. And there's a couple of mistakes in the manual as well, which we obviously didn't get to find out until we built them. You know, there's one on pose 1. There is a duplication of the number on the weapon, so I would recommend looking at pose 2 when building the weapon to make sure you get the kind of the bit where the blade goes in. So you got the pole, you got the 2 bits that connect, and then you got the blade that goes in. It's that there's the mistake on. There's other things like slight ordering issues that are strange, to say the least, which definitely feel like it comes from somebody who's designed a lot of resin kits and now they're doing plastic kits as well, if you see what I mean. And I think as a consequence of this, it means that stuff like Horus Heresy and the Cathay plastics, and indeed, you know, we did the Illyrian Reavers a little while ago as well, actually, in plastic. It does mean that you end up with these kits that it kind of feels like the gloves are off and they can do it in plastic, which means they can provide as many components as they want to make a highly detailed kit, but you don't need to because of how advanced the technology that they have to make miniatures is. So as an example, for the Cities of Sigmar, you can get really detailed, lovely infantry steel helms, and they're significantly simpler to put together than the Jade Warriors, as an example. Do you see kind of what I'm getting to? So it does feel generally like these are wonderful, amazing kits. They are, and the miniatures that they produce are beautiful. And there's elements of them that are really, really good. And the Jade Warriors is one of those. But the Jade Warriors, as an example, it's a case of the kit's really good, except the pegs on their shoulders are really shallow. So the arms are really floaty. So as you're trying to put them on, it's going like this, rather than it being kind of like a really kind of like, well, a deeper peg, for example, especially for the halberds, right? Because it's 2 arms connected like this. And there's stuff like the hand is the wrist, for example. At times there's like a joint, it's like a 2-tiered thing, right? And it goes into the hand, which is on the weapon, which is great because it just guides in perfectly. But then there's other times where it's completely smooth, so it floats on the piece, right? So and you're trying to make sure it stays steady, and then you're trying to add it to the shoulders, which aren't great because again, all floaty like this. So it's a really great start, and there's a lot of practice that needs to be made here in terms of the building and designing of these kits on Sprue. As for something like the Jade Sentinel, where there's easily about 100 components in the box, I'm not entirely sure how many there are, and it feels like you're using all 100 to build the thing, because the leg itself comes in like 40 pieces. It's difficult for us people who don't like building to be really enthused about the building. And I think that's borne out in the time it took to build these things. Plus 2 hours on the lantern. Almost 2 hours and a half. It might have been over 2 hours and a half. I'm recording this before I edit the main part of the video, so I can't remember. I could look it up, but I'm in the flow, and we've got limited time before I need to switch the air conditioning and the fans back on, because otherwise I'm going to die. So overall, the vibe check, it passes. Like, I mean, look at them, right? I think we can all agree that it's an incredible set of miniatures to look at. But sprues wise, I feel like there's a lot more to be desired. Okay, so yeah, I mean it's a really tricky one for this review as to how you kind of talk about it. I think for anybody who's thinking of getting into the old world via Cathay, and you're relatively new to building miniatures, this could turn you off entirely to Warhammer because of how in detail and how much effort it takes to put these together. Unless you really love building, in which case the time it takes to put these together you're gonna love, because you're gonna be doing it for a very, very long time. But the sprues are in really good nick. I mean, there's not a ton of huge mold lines all over the place, which is fantastic, and that's across all of them. Most of the components are fairly chunky. There's nothing like kind of too spindly, apart from on that sky lantern with all those ropes and stuff. But even then, they've got a nice amount of flex to them. I noticed that when I was putting the rigging together on the large balloon, or lantern part of it, whatever you call it. Nice flex to them, so they're not like kind of brittle and snap easily, so that's good. But they just take a very, very long time to do. I cannot stress that enough, how long it takes to put these together because of how many components there are per model, which is, for me, it's a big downside. For you, it might not be so. Do you see what I mean? That's the difficult part. But overall, they look amazing. They look fantastic. And, well, we're sprue reviewing, but also vibe checking today. And, well, I think overall, when you just look at the Cathay miniatures, especially when you look at all of the pictures of everybody who's got big armies of it now, especially on the... There's the Warcom article where lots of people have done a lot more work than I have on them because of reasons, but there's all these pictures of kind of like the collections from Games Workshop and stuff. It is a truly magnificent collection of miniatures to look at, and honestly, there's components in here that look amazing, like that straight sword in the Jade Warriors. I'll never forget it because it's beautiful. But stuff like the weapons on the lancers as well, and the cannons look amazing. The Sentinels are imposing and enormous. By the way, the weapon itself is about 11 inches long. It's ginormous. The Sky Lantern looks fantastic, although a little bit cramped. Could have been a slightly wider basket, would have been really nice. Because we've had to build that in sub-assemblies, and you know how I feel about sub-assemblies. So as a range, I think it's a triumph. It's a 10 out of 10. But as a set of sprues, it's hard. It's hard. I think if I was to be as objective as I possibly can, and for the people who really love building and really enjoy building and enjoy the process of putting things together, I think you will have a good time with this, albeit there's a couple of the mistakes here and there which we do have to take points off, particularly on the Sentinel, for example. But for me, as somebody who hates building, when the build is hard because the instructions aren't easy and because there's a lot of components, it's tough to be really positive about a set of miniatures. But I think we're gonna go somewhere sort of in the middle. I think if it was for me, I'd say I had a 5 out of 10 building experience, which is not a comment on the sprues themselves. I think that's my personal opinion, but I think they're really smartly put together on the sprue. There's just a lot of components to put together, so I think I'm gonna try. Well, I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna give this range a 7 out of 10 on the sprue, because, like I said, I mean, I think the amount of components, the time it takes, I think that is a fair, legitimate criticism. And like I said, there is a couple of mistakes here and there in some of the instruction manuals, for example on the Cathay and Sentinel, which won't be corrected until a second print run, if you see what I mean. It's not like it's all come in a an army box where it can be corrected in the next iteration of that. The battalion is as the battalion does, if you see what I mean. So, and there aren't actually really that many. I can't think or remember any mistakes that are actually in the battalion. It's just on things like the Sentinel, for example, where there is those errors in the instruction manual. Could the instruction manuals be significantly better? Yes, they could. Could they be laid out significantly better? Absolutely, they could. There's a thing that happens in 40k and Age of Sigmar kits where if you have a champion that can be built as a non-champion, it will say, this is the green track, this is the pink track, or the blue track, or whatever. This one builds the champion, this one builds the non-champion. Follow like this to build. This one doesn't do that. It goes, here's the champion, and then later on you figure out that there's the non-champion version by taking figure 1B or whatever it was to then put together your non-champion, which is it's a slightly strange way of doing things, and it's not conducive to a happy and healthy building experience. So instruction manuals could be better, sprues could have less components and be slightly easier to put together, and as a consequence it means that the range actually gets a 7 out of 10, I think. But vibe check, 10 out of 10, you know? Like, ultimately once they're finished they look amazing. Jade Warriors, Jade Sentinels, well there's a Jade Sentinel, all of that. I'm really pleased with the final results, and I'm really pleased with where the Gate Masters are going as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. I am worried about the dragon. I worry that that's going to be thousands of components. But we shall have to see, and we'll find out together. Either way, I think the heat's gotten to me because I feel like I'm rambling. So, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will see you all very soon for another sprue review and a lot of painting content. Trust me, there is a lot of painting content coming. I've just got to actually paint it. I need the world to cool down. Cool your jets, son.
If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/Warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.